Before we start, just a few housekeeping items. In the event of an emergency, there are two exits. One you came up through in the front. There's also one in the back. Also, there's a ladies' and a men's room in the back and to the right. The reason we are gathered here today is to urge, no, insist, Governor Cuomo and our state DEC to lift the moratorium on safe and responsible drilling in New York. It's time. It's past time. Our state, our county, our local government, local communities, our school districts will all benefit through increased tax base and energy independence. Local business would benefit from increased commerce and hopefully increased hiring. Local landowners would also benefit. Many of them farmers who have been struggling to keep their farms up and running, just paying the fuel bills must be a challenge. You know, farmers are much different than those of us in the building trades. They work hard, they work long, in dangerous situations, trying to provide for their family, and I imagine that they would like to pass that farm on to the next generation. But for everyone to benefit, we must make sure that local labor is on these projects. There are several ways to ensure local labor is also benefiting. One way may be through some legislation. Another way would be for everyone involved to reach out to the local building trades to discuss project labor agreements or a memorandum of understanding. All of us in labor, all we want to do is work. We want to work at home. We build things. And I must say, we're pretty damn good at it too. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our president of the Binghamton Oneonta Building Trades, Dan Richardson. Dan?
Thank you all for coming. Are you guys ready to go to work? So are we. It's been a long time coming, but now is the time. We need to get these jobs going here in the state. Our next speaker will be David Marsh from Laborers Local 589.
Just a correction there, 589, 7, and 1350 are now 785, but thanks, Dan. I also sat as a president of the Building Trades Council in Tompkins and Cortland counties, and we endorse lifting the moratorium. Labor's Local 785 endorses lifting the moratorium. It's time to go to work. I want to talk a little bit about jobs. We hear a lot about the negatives. Well, let's talk about the jobs. Marcellus Shale by the numbers, workforce impact. This was produced by the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. As of October 15th, 2012, jobs, 29,320 employed in the core industry, 159% increase since fourth quarter of 2008. Jobs, 209,094 employed in ancillary industries, fourth quarter of 2011. That's an increase of 2.8 since the fourth quarter of 08, when other industries are down a minimum of 1.2%. I think we're experiencing that here in our counties, aren't we? Yeah. A lot of job loss. Jobs, 150,616 new hires from the fourth quarter of 09 to the second quarter of 12. 74% from Pennsylvania. Another myth you hear often is that they're all out of state. Not true. Now let's talk about the wages these Pennsylvania jobs are creating. The average salary the average salary in the core industry down in Pennsylvania, $81,116. Those kind of wages not only support your family, but allow you to spend money in your community supporting the small business owner as well. Average salary of the ancillary industry jobs, $63,904. Again, these are good paying jobs. The average salary across all industries in Pennsylvania, $47,034. These jobs are 25 to 50% higher wages than the industry standards. You hear the environmentalists complain constantly about concerns. We're concerned too. We live here. I've lived in upstate New York all my life and I want to retire here. And I want clean water. But they don't talk about, at least from what I have heard, about the positives of natural gas. And that is a substantial reduction in carbon output from using natural gas. Something that has been mandated by the federal agencies as well as the state agencies. In fact, Mr. Como himself has spoke about this issue. On January 9th, Governor Andrew Cuomo delivered the 2013 State of the State Address, outlining a comprehensive agenda that builds on the progress, of the past 2 years and track good jobs and economic growth. He wants to create a world-class education system and prepare our state for extreme weather associated with climate change. He goes on to say in his address that responding to the crisis of Hurricane Sandy, which most environmentalists agree was the result of global warming, facing the realities of climate change and extreme storms, the governor proposed a series of ideas to prepare our state. One is to combat the impact of climate change by lowering regional greenhouse gas emissions and a cap on CO2 emissions in the multi-state CO2 cap and trade program, and also to reduce the incident of outages by increasing the number of alternate local power stations using renewable sources and natural gas. So let's talk about the statistics since we've been drilling in Pennsylvania. In 2000, shale gas was 1% of the American gas supply. Today, it is 25%. Prior to the shale breakthrough, U.S. natural gas reserves were in decline. Prices exceeded $15 per million British thermal units. Now the price is at $4 per thermal unit. That has led to the building of natural gas power generation plants. And that is in response to two factors: the demand to reduce carbon, and the lower cost of producing electricity by burning natural gas. So finally, I'll share this thought with you on that. In the first quarter of 2012, CO2 emissions into the atmosphere were the lowest in 20 years. So burning natural gas instead of coal is turning around those emissions of dangerous greenhouse gases that are leading to some of these superstorms that we're experiencing. Point being is, there is a good side to natural gas. It's the cheapest energy source available right now. and it is reducing our carbon emissions. So that, I think, is an important argument to make. Now, getting back to the jobs, as Jim had touched on before me, there are so many other people that are affected by this. The landowners, with their royalty checks, now have the ability to improve their properties, keep their taxes paid, and put people to work working for them on improvements on their properties. The building trades has opportunities to build the infrastructure, the pipelines, the roads that this large equipment needs to have in place to cross. In Pennsylvania, if you haven't been down there recently, go down there and check it out. There's a lot of roads that were before fairly narrow that have been widened out. They've got 6 to 8 inches of blacktop on them, and that was all paid for by private investment. New York State needs that private investment. States compete for private investment by giving tax incentives, by giving grants to build facilities to create maybe a couple hundred jobs. This industry is going to create thousands of jobs. They're not asking for tax incentives. They're not asking for grants. They're going to invest in our community. It's time to bring jobs to New York State. Thank you.